Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I'm just sitting here drinking my morning coffee still, doing my second informative video this morning before the sun comes up. Got a hook grip on my cup. Alright guys, one of my pet peeves whenever I discuss something in a video is saying that something's not a good idea, it's dangerous, it means maybe you're trying to maybe eagle if you're lifting weights you can't really handle. It breaks equipment, it can hurt other people around you, it can hurt yourself. When I say these things, invariably you get people who jump in and say, but Jason, George Lehman does touch and go deadlifts, but Jason, Larry Wheels throws his dumbbells on the floor when doing chest presses. And here's something that people need to understand. If there is something out there in training that is ignorant ass shit, let me say this again. If there is something that is ignorant ass shit, that is dangerous and stupid, just because a champion chooses to do it doesn't make it not ignorant ass shit, and it doesn't make them not a dumbass for doing it. Okay? This is something that you need to get through your heads, guys. It's something we all need to understand. All right? You can be a champion and an amazing athlete and still be stupid as a box of rocks and do stupid shit that will eventually get you hurt or hurt other people or make you look like a jackass. All right? It's possible to break world records while being a complete moron and doing stupid stuff that will eventually hurt you or that it's disrespectful and hurts other people and you have no business doing. Champions do this stuff all the time. Doesn't make it smart. And you could take someone like Larry Wheel. Let's be honest here, guys. Let's be honest with that. Larry's an amazing power lifter. He's an amazing power lifter. See, credit where credit is due. The little bit I know about the guy, though, is this someone who you really think is just overbrimming with good ideas? Number one, he released his drug stack and who he was buying steroids from and everything last year or whatever on YouTube. Right, basically publicly admitted to felonies in details to an international audience for the whole world to see. Is that smart? I'm just saying, and I don't know if he's a smart guy or not, but that behavior's not smart. That wasn't very wise. Number two, the guy jumps up and he wants to compete in pro bodybuilding. It's not smart to try to compete in pro bodybuilding. In fact, it's a death cult. Pro bodybuilding is a death cult. Anyone who chooses to get involved with it is not very smart. They're stupid. They're self-destructive. So, and I don't care who they are, even if they have an MD. If they have an MD, they should know better. They should know better than to do ignorant ass shit like go try to compete in pro bodybuilding. It will kill you. It's a death cult. So my point is, we've already seen him do two things that common sense should dictate, probably not good ideas. So why does it make it a good idea for him to drop dumbbells? Do you guys see the problem there? I mean, you already know he's done a couple things. These are questionable judgment. Now, he might be a smart guy in 95% of things he does. I don't know. He very well could be. Those two things weren't very bright. I don't know that he actually drops dumbbells. I haven't seen it, but multiple people came in my comments and said, well, Larry Wheels drops dumbbells, blah, blah, blah. Well, who gives a shit? Does that make it a good idea because he does it? I mean, and here's the other thing. What sport does he compete in where he has to do dumbbell chest presses? It's his choice of accessories. And people need to understand when it comes to powerlifting, hell, even bodybuilding, other than your competitive lifts, there are no exercises that you have to do to be number one in the world. Let me state that again. When it comes to accessory exercises, they are there to build muscle. They're not assistance movements for the main lifts. Like dumbbells are not an assistance movement to the bench press because they use a totally different bar path, hand place, and everything else. They're not an assistance exercise. They don't train anything close to the same motor pattern. They're a hypertrophy tool. Does anyone honestly think that dumbbell chest presses build more muscle than a weighted dip as far as an accessory exercise? They both get a stretch reflex. They both have a longer range of motion. Same benefits exist. It's his choice to do an accessory exercise. Right? That's what he chooses to do. Just like guys talk about the Spoto press. Do you guys think that because Eric Spoto did the Spoto press that that's the reason he had a 700, what was it, like a 722 bench or whatever it was? Do you think that's the reason? Or do you think that's just the accessory exercise that he chose to do and it didn't matter that he would have got the same 722 bench press had he chose to use a weighted dip, dumbbell chest presses, floor presses, closed grip press, whatever he chose to use in place of the split press, don't you think he probably would have got about the same bench? Does anyone think that that's what magically took him from a 600 bench to a 722? No, it's just an accessory exercise. It's just there to build muscle. It's what you choose to use to build extra muscle outside of the primary exercise. Same thing with a bodybuilder. There's nothing magical about some of these different exercises they do. They're just what they're choosing to do to get more workload in so that they can build more muscle. It's that simple. It's a choice. That's what he chooses to use. Now, if he's choosing to use weights on an accessory exercise that require him to do something dangerous, because he's having to use dumbbells that are so heavy that he can't get them in and out of position safely and has to drop them, well, maybe at that point you got to say maybe he could have just used a different exercise if he wants to go that heavy than a dumbbell. Dumbbell's not really good for that. And dropping dumbbells damages dumbbells. It hurts people. People get hurt in gyms, bystanders, when people throw their dumbbells on the floor. It injures people. It injures people. And it makes you reckless and it makes you a jackass. So anyone who drops dumbbells, I don't care who they are. I don't care if they're Mr. Olympia. If they're Mr. Olympia, they're probably a dumbass anyways for competing in pro bodybuilding. I don't care who they are. It doesn't make it not stupid. It doesn't make it not dangerous. And it still makes you being a jackass. That's all there is to it. It's that simple. It's not, oh, well, they're so strong. Look how hardcore they are. No, guys, they're just being a jackass. They might be amazingly strong. And hey, that's great. I respect strength. I appreciate strength. But being strong or being good at something doesn't justify putting people around you into danger by doing stupid stuff that wasn't necessary to do. It's not necessary to do that. And again, if you're going to do, again, he has other options there. If you really decide that you need to take a heavy weight to failure for an accessory, there are other lifts out there you can do that don't require you to throw a 200-pound dumbbell to each side and maybe bounce and roll and damage equipment and hit people's legs or feet near you, right? There's other exercises available that don't carry those same risks. And it always comes back to the point of this idea that people have that because a champion somewhere does something that it must be a good idea to do it. The people have these ideas that champions and the best of the world are infallible. That somehow that anything that they do must be perfect because they wouldn't be a champion unless they did everything 100% perfect and were the most intelligently trained people in the entire world. They couldn't be the best. When people never factor in that there's still a margin for error in being the best, it's a question of sometimes genetics. And recovery and response to drugs are part of your genetics, by the way, guys. Some people recover better than others. And if you can recover better than others, just genetically, you can train harder than other people, and you already have an advantage. You already have an advantage right there. There you go. There's the genetic traits. Certain people respond to drugs better. That's all part of genetics. It's not just leverages and muscle fiber distribution. A lot of things that genetically help build a champion athlete. But you've got the genetic component. There's the hard work component. Then there's, are they willing to use more drugs than the next guy component? Those are all factors. Or do they have someone who can help them cheat on a drug test better if they're a tested athlete so they can use more drugs than the next guy and still pass the doping test? Right? These are a lot of the factors that go into building a champion. It's possible for champions. It's not just possible, it happens every day, that champions do ignorant ass shit. But people, again, they have this weird idea, because this champion over here did cupping or did ice there, cryotherapy, that if I do that, it's going to make me a champion, that must be the secret to his success. No, guys, the secret to their success is usually genetics, work ethic, and then drugs. That's usually what's causing it. It's not necessarily any one specific thing they did. Champions tend to do a lot of different things, just trying to try something, hoping it will work so they can be on the cutting edge and be ahead of everyone else. That's also part of work ethic, comes down to being willing to try unproven things in the hopes that it will give you an edge somewhere. Because you will do anything to win. You'll not just work harder, you will do anything to win. That's part of being a world champion. Willingness to do anything to win. But it doesn't mean that anything is always a good thing. And like I go back to the other point, guys, you see a lot of guys in some of these endeavors They have such an ego sometimes from all the drugs they're using sometimes, because it does mess with your brain. It does mess with your aggression levels, that they might just do ignorant, stupid shit in the weight room because they've got drugs clouding their judgment and giving them a God complex too. You guys have to factor that in. It doesn't mean that they're doing something smart. You have to factor that in when you start thinking about these things. So I don't want to hear from people, well, no, you're wrong, that this isn't dangerous or disrespectful or won't hurt you because so-and-so does it, and look how strong or big they are, so therefore it must be right. That is an ignorant ass way to look at the world. That is ignorant, and it makes you ignorant to say that. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.